In the last class, we understood the revolt of 1857. Now, the idea of revolt of 1857 was to free the country from the domain of British rule. However, this revolt was suppressed, and later on there was a series of economic exploitation in the country that followed. Now, this discontent which was there within the country's people actually turned into a powerful flame, and as a result there was a staunch feeling of nationalism that provoked among the Indians. Now, the second half of the 19th century following the revolt of 1857 was the time where there was a significant rise in nationalist movements as well as a rise in political consciousness. Now, with this, the idea of nationalism became more staunch. Now, what was this idea of nationalism? The idea was to get an independent statehood, and this was a strong feeling of patriotism with the love for country. Now, as a result, the idea was to overthrow the foreign rule, the foreign domination, and become independent, to remove all kinds of racial discrimination which existed between the whites and Indians, to remove any kind of religious prejudice, to remove any kind of provincial prejudice that existed, and ultimately promote unity among the members. Now, how did this nationalism grew? What were the factors that led to the birth of nationalism? So the 19th century nationalism following the revolt of 1857 was a series of, we could say, amalgamation of various things that happened. The first was the policy of drain of wealth of Britain. Now, the Britishers were doing a constant economic exploitation. As a result, among the local people, there was a discontent, and this discontent grew further powerful after the revolt, and they tried to understood that Britishers were trying to capture the resources from India and send it to their home country. Also, the effect of 1857 revolt was also important. But before we talk about all these, let's first understand the three important movements which were kind of smaller movements, but they united together later on. So first was the movement by indigo planters. Now, indigo planters did not want to plant indigo in the regions of Bihar and Bengal. So farmers did not want to do that, but Britishers actually imposed that they should grow indigo, and this came out as a revolt in 1860, and this was considered as the first non-cooperation movement in India. The second important aspect that was a kind of rebellion was the Kuka movement. Now, this Kuka movement was in Punjab to purify the Sikh religion, started by Balak Singh and Ram Singh. People actually were asked not to accept the government authorities, the government job, and boycott any foreign good that comes in. So this was a local movement that is started in Punjab. Indigo planters movement in Bengal and Bihar. There was another movement which started in Maharashtra, and this was the armed revolt. Now, this armed revolt started in the regions of Deccan by Vasudev Balwant Phadke, and he actually arose people against the British rule, and this was from 1879 to 1883, right? So these three revolts were, however, localized in nature, but provided a firm base for the growth of nationalism. Also, the revolt of 1857, the Indians revolted against the Britishers. The English atrocities on Indians was questioned. Britishers always suspected Indians, and on the other hand, Indians always were rival to Britishers. So this led to serious dissatisfaction and discontent, and there was a hatred, a feeling of hatred that arose among the Indians, and this was the basis for national awakening. The next was the establishment of British imperialism. Now, Under the idea of imperialism, English people actually established a strong central control. Now, with this strong central control they spread the law and administration to every nook and corner of the country. Also, under this process, they tried to establish industries for unification and brought political unity, which wasn't before. But on the other hand, this economic unification and political unification that was brought by Britishers became a threat to them itself, because the people united, and when the people united across the borders, they started to raise the voice against the British supremacy. So the national sentiments which were dispersed, as we saw in the case of indigo planters, in the case of Kukka rebellion, in the case of armed revolt in Deccan region, these which were localized now became unified. So British imperialism, however, it was meant for increasing the political unity and the economic unification of the British Empire in India. It turned the other way around, and the sentiments of nationalism among the Indians actually got strong, and as a result the hatred against the British Empire increased. Also, there was a big question on the repressive colonial power, right? So we would talk about each of these as we proceed. So let's first understand the means of transport and communication. Now, the Britishers actually built roads, networks, posts, railways, telegraphs, and all of these were interlinking the people across the social groups, as we said. So since people were interlinked across the social groups, this was a way forward for bringing in unification of the people. The next was Western thought and education. Now, Western thought and education was brought by Britishers to serve their own administrative purpose and promote the Western culture and Western thoughts in the Indians, and develop loyalty of educated Indians towards the Britishers. The idea was to imbibe secular, modern outlook among the people, and this Western thought was based on three important revolutions: American Revolution, French Revolution, and even European Revolution. So it promoted the idea of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Now, as soon as the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity were promoted, it actually helped the people raise their voice. So, the philosophers like Milton, Edmund Brooke, later on we would see Surendranath Banerjee was called as